in any relationship. Communication forms the bedrock of connection. It's not enough to merely talk. True communication requires understanding, empathy, and the willingness to listen with intention. Most relationships falter when one or both partners fail to listen, or worse, fail to hear what the other is saying. When we communicate effectively, we create a space for our partners to feel understood, and in turn, that understanding fosters deeper trust. Trust is the invisible force that keeps a relationship grounded. It isn't something that happens overnight. It's built through consistency, through the small, everyday choices that reinforce our integrity. When we act with transparency, reliability, and respect, we gradually strengthen the foundation of trust. Without it, nothing can truly thrive. But communication and trust alone aren't enough. To sustain a relationship, we need to invest in emotional intelligence. This means becoming aware of our own emotions and recognizing how they influence our actions, but also understanding our partner's emotions. Emotional intelligence allows us to navigate challenges without letting feelings spiral out of control, and it ensures we don't react impulsively. When both partners are emotionally in tune with each other, it creates an environment where conflicts are resolved with care and growth becomes possible. Communication is the cornerstone of any relationship. It is the vehicle through which understanding, connection, and emotional intimacy are built. However, when most people think of communication, they think only of talking, of exchanging words, and perhaps of being heard. But true communication is far deeper. It requires not just speaking, but listening, understanding, and engaging with empathy. It's not enough to just say things. It's essential to convey the right meaning and to receive the intended message. Without effective communication, relationships are doomed to misunderstandings, conflict, and emotional distance. One of the key aspects of communication is listening, but not just listening to respond. Many times people listen to their partners only to prepare their counter-arguments, rather than trying to understand their feelings, thoughts, and needs. This type of listening creates a divide rather than fostering a connection. True listening, on the other hand, involves being present in the moment, paying attention, and trying to understand the message in its entirety. This means listening to the words being said, but also paying attention to body language, tone, and the emotions that might be underlying the conversation. It's about acknowledging that your partner's perspective is valid, even if it differs from your own. The act of listening with empathy allows for a space where both individuals feel seen, heard, and respected. Understanding is the next crucial element of communication. It's not enough to simply hear the words. You must strive to truly understand what your partner is trying to convey. Often, people assume that their partner's needs are the same as their own, but this is rarely the case. Each person brings their own experiences, values, and emotional history to the table. These differences influence how they communicate and how they perceive the world. Therefore, understanding involves going beyond the surface level of words and connecting with the emotional and psychological undercurrents that shape those words. It requires curiosity, asking questions, seeking clarification, and allowing the other person to express their emotions fully without jumping to conclusions or offering solutions immediately. Moreover, communication isn't only about understanding your partner's words. It's about understanding their feelings, their fears, and their hopes. This level of emotional attunement is vital in relationships, particularly when things become challenging or tense. When a couple can communicate on an emotional level, when they can express vulnerability, fear, or joy, they open the door to deeper intimacy and trust. Emotional connection deepens when partners recognize that communication is not just a transaction of words, but a transfer of feelings and intention. This connection fosters a safe environment where both individuals feel comfortable being authentic. An essential part of communication is clarity. Often misunderstandings arise from unclear or vague statements. It's easy to assume that your partner knows what you mean or that they understand the emotional weight behind your words, but without clarity, assumptions take the place of true understanding. Clear communication involves expressing your needs, desires, and concerns openly and directly, while also being willing to listen to and understand your partner's needs. This does not mean being harsh or demanding, but rather ensuring that your message is conveyed in a way that is respectful and considerate. Being direct is not the same as being blunt. It's about making sure that your intentions and feelings are expressed in a way that the other person can easily comprehend. Effective communication also involves patience. Relationships require time, and so does communication. Rushing through conversations or interrupting your partner can quickly derail any meaningful exchange. Instead, allow your partner the time they need to articulate their thoughts fully. Silence in conversation is not a bad thing. Sometimes it allows for reflection and deeper understanding. Patience in communication allows both individuals to process emotions, think before responding, and prevent knee-jerk reactions that can lead to conflict. One of the greatest obstacles to effective communication is the ego. Often people enter conversations with their own needs, anxieties, or expectations, which can cloud their ability to engage fully with their partner. Came on point. When we become defensive or focus solely on proving our point, we stop truly listening. The key to effective communication is to put aside the ego and focus on the relationship. It requires humility to acknowledge that we don't always have all the answers and that our partner's perspective may be just as valuable, if not more so, than our own. This foundation of communication in relationships is not built overnight. It requires a conscious effort to listen, understand, and express oneself clearly and respectfully. But when couples invest in effective communication, the rewards are immense. It leads to deeper connection, increased trust, and a stronger emotional bond. It allows both partners to navigate the inevitable challenges that arise in any relationship with the knowledge that their voices will be heard, their feelings will be validated, and their emotional needs will be met. Communication is the lifeblood of a relationship, and its strength is what sustains it through the highs and lows. Trust is the invisible force that binds relationships together. It's something that takes time to build and is easily shattered by inconsistency or dishonesty. Unlike love, which can be spontaneous or overwhelming in certain moments, trust is a slow burn that develops over time, fueled by consistent actions. The foundation of trust in a relationship is built not through grand gestures, but through the small everyday actions that demonstrate reliability, honesty, and care. Trust isn't something that can be demanded or expected. It must be earned and nurtured consistently. I think when we think about trust, we often focus on moments of betrayal or significant breaches of faith. But in reality, trust is primarily maintained through the consistency of our behavior. It's about showing up day after day and demonstrating that we can be counted on. For example, being reliable in the small things, like following through on promises or being there when you say you will, may seem trivial, but these acts compound over time. They send a clear message to your partner: you can count on me. Over time, these small, consistent actions add up, reinforcing the sense of safety and security in the relationship. However, trust is not just about keeping promises. It's also about emotional consistency. Emotional consistency means being steady in how we respond to situations and how we show up emotionally for our partner. In relationships, people often fear the unknown, the unpredictability of how their partner might react to a given situation. If a partner is volatile, reacting with anger one day and indifference the next, it's hard to trust that their feelings are stable and reliable. Emotional consistency means that your partner knows how you are likely to respond in any situation, not because you are predictable in a negative sense, but because you are grounded in your reactions. This steadiness makes the relationship feel safe, which allows both people to be vulnerable and open, knowing they won't be met with unpredictable emotional reactions. Inconsistent behavior, on the other hand, is one of the most damaging forces to trust. When a partner says one thing and does another, or makes promises that are repeatedly broken, it sends a message that their words cannot be trusted. Small inconsistencies may seem insignificant at first, but over time they erode the foundation of trust. Imagine if every time a promise is made and broken, it's like a small crack appearing in the wall of trust. Over time, those cracks multiply and widen, and before long, the wall is no longer sturdy. Trust is built on the idea that you will do what you say you will do, and when that doesn't happen, the relationship begins to falter. Inconsistent behavior creates doubt and insecurity, leaving partners to wonder what they can rely on, and whether the other person is truly committed to the relationship. Another critical aspect of trust through consistency is honesty. Being honest, even when it's difficult, is a vital part of maintaining trust. However, honesty is not just about sharing the big truths. It's about sharing the small truths too. When partners are consistent in being open with each other, whether about their feelings, their needs, or their mistakes, it prevents misunderstandings and builds a solid foundation of trust. Avoiding difficult conversations or withholding information may seem like a way to avoid conflict, but it can have the opposite effect. It creates a sense of secrecy and distance. On the other hand, when both partners make a conscious effort to be transparent and open, even about the uncomfortable or painful topics, trust flourishes. It is in these moments of vulnerability and openness that partners feel most connected, and this is where the deepest trust is built. Trust also grows when partners show consistency in their efforts to care for each other. Love and affection should not be reserved only for special occasions, but should be expressed regularly in both big and small ways. Whether it's through small gestures of kindness, Words of affirmation or thoughtful actions consistently showing that you care reinforces trust. When your partner sees that you are always there, always making the effort to be present and supportive, they feel valued and safe. It's not just the major acts of kindness that count, it's the daily moments that demonstrate your commitment to the relationship. Ultimately, trust is something that needs to be cultivated through ongoing, consistent efforts. It's not something that is automatically present at the start of a relationship, nor is it something that can be restored overnight if it has been damaged. Building trust requires patience, humility, and a consistent willingness to show up in ways that demonstrate care, reliability, and emotional stability. It means choosing to be reliable even when it's inconvenient, choosing to be emotionally steady even in challenging moments, and always, consistently, choosing honesty and transparency. When both partners commit to these principles, trust becomes a natural byproduct, and with trust, a relationship can weather any storm. Emotional intelligence, EQ, is one of the most vital yet often overlooked qualities that determine the success of any relationship. It involves the ability to recognize, understand, and manage our own emotions as well as the emotions of others. In relationships, emotional intelligence enables both individuals to navigate the complexities of their feelings, communicate effectively, and respond to challenges with empathy and understanding. When both partners invest in developing emotional intelligence, they create a solid foundation for lasting connection, trust, and resilience in their relationships. At the core of emotional intelligence is self-awareness, the ability to recognize and understand your own emotions as they occur. In relationships, self-awareness allows individuals to understand what they are feeling and why. This awareness helps prevent emotional reactions that are driven by unconscious triggers. For example, if one partner is feeling angry or hurt, being aware of these feelings enables them to pause, reflect, and choose how to respond thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Self-awareness also helps individuals identify patterns in their emotional responses, which allows them to communicate more effectively about their needs and boundaries. In turn, this openness fosters a deeper connection with their partner, as they are able to express their feelings more clearly and authentically. Self-regulation, another key component of emotional intelligence, involves managing our emotions in healthy and constructive ways. It is about staying calm under pressure, being able to control impulsive reactions, and adapting to changing circumstances. In relationships, self-regulation helps partners avoid escalating conflicts or letting their emotions cloud their judgment. For instance, during an argument, self-regulation allows one partner to remain composed rather than resorting to angry outbursts or shutting down emotionally. By managing their emotions effectively, both partners create a safe space where issues can be addressed with respect and maturity, rather than in a heated, emotionally charged environment. This emotional balance is essential in maintaining a healthy, stable relationship over time. Empathy, the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, is a hallmark of emotional intelligence. In relationships, empathy fosters deep emotional intimacy and strengthens the bond between partners. It allows individuals to see the world through their partner's eyes, to understand their experiences, and to offer support in a way that is aligned with their emotional need. Empathy doesn't just mean sympathizing with a partner when they're upset. It means being attuned to their emotional state, picking up on subtle cues in their tone of voice, body language, and facial expressions, and responding accordingly. It's about validating their emotions and providing comfort without necessarily trying to fix the situation. Empathy fosters compassion and helps prevent misunderstandings as both partners feel seen, understood, and supported. Another important aspect of emotional intelligence in relationships is social skills. Social skills encompass the ability to communicate effectively, build rapport, and resolve conflicts in a constructive manner. Strong social skills are crucial for maintaining harmony in relationships, as they allow partners to navigate disagreements, express their desires and needs, and negotiate differences with respect. When partners are skilled in social interaction, they are better able to collaborate and support each other, fostering a sense of teamwork and unity. Good social skills also involve active listening, being present, and engaging in conversations that promote mutual understanding and emotional connection. These skills allow partners to navigate the ups and downs of life together, working as a cohesive unit to overcome challenges. Investing in emotional intelligence also means becoming comfortable with vulnerability. Vulnerability is often viewed as a weakness, but in reality, it is one of the most powerful tools in building trust and emotional intimacy. When partners are emotionally intelligent, they feel secure enough to be open about their thoughts, feelings, and experiences, even when they are difficult to express. This willingness to be vulnerable strengthens the relationship, as it encourages both individuals to show up authentically without the fear of judgment. Vulnerability fosters deeper emotional connection as it allows both partners to be seen for who they truly are, flaws and all. And it also creates a sense of safety, where both people feel that they can express themselves freely, knowing they will be met with empathy and understanding. Investing in emotional intelligence also requires a willingness to learn and grow. It's not a static trait, but something that can be developed over time with intentional effort. The journey of emotional growth involves self-reflection, open communication, and a commitment to continuous improvement. As both partners invest in their emotional intelligence, they create an environment where growth is not only welcomed, but encouraged. This willingness to grow emotionally leads to greater resilience in the face of challenges and a deeper, more meaningful connection between partners. In relationships, emotional intelligence is not just a luxury, it is a necessity. It enables individuals to navigate the complexities of emotions with grace, communicate effectively, and support each other through life's ups and downs. By investing in emotional intelligence, both partners develop a deeper understanding of themselves and each other, creating a space where love, trust, and emotional intimacy can flourish. It is through this investment that relationships not only survive but thrive, growing stronger with each passing day. Vulnerability is often seen as a weakness, something to be guarded against or hidden away. In a world that values strength, independence, and emotional control, opening ourselves up emotionally can feel risky, even dangerous. Yet, it is precisely in our vulnerability that our greatest strength lies. Vulnerability in the context of relationships is not about being fragile or exposed. It is about being authentic, being willing to show up as our true selves, imperfections and all. When we embrace vulnerability, we create deeper, more intimate connections, and we allow ourselves the opportunity for real emotional growth. At its core, vulnerability is about being open and honest with ourselves and others, about who we are, our fears, our dreams, our flaws, and our needs. It's about having the courage to let go of the walls we've built around ourselves for protection and allowing others to see us as we truly are, without the masks or pretenses we often wear. In relationships, when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we invite our partner to do the same. This mutual openness fosters an environment of trust and emotional intimacy where both individuals can feel safe enough to express their deepest thoughts and emotions without fear of judgment or rejection. One of the key elements of vulnerability is emotional openness. In many relationships, partners are afraid to express their true feelings because they fear being misunderstood, judged, or dismissed. However, without emotional openness, relationships remain shallow and disconnected. When we share our fears, our disappointments, and our desires with our partner, we invite them into our inner world, allowing them to see the depth of who we are. This creates a bond that goes beyond surface-level interactions. Vulnerability deepens the connection because it shows that we trust our partner enough to be real with them. It's in these moments of openness that the most profound emotional connections are formed, as both partners feel seen, heard, and valued for who they truly are. Another aspect of embracing vulnerability is the willingness to acknowledge and confront our own imperfections. In a society that often promotes perfection and success, it can be difficult to admit our flaws or shortcomings. However, true connection comes not from presenting a perfect version of ourselves, but from embracing our imperfections and sharing them with others. By acknowledging our vulnerabilities, we invite our partner to see us as human, not as an idealized version of ourselves. This humanizing aspect of vulnerability strengthens the bond between partners as it creates a space where both people can accept each other fully with all their imperfection. In relationships where vulnerability is embraced, both individuals are more likely to feel accepted and loved, not for the idealized version of themselves they project, but for who they are at their core. Vulnerability also plays a crucial role in fostering emotional intimacy. In many relationships, emotional intimacy can be difficult to achieve because partners hold back, either out of fear of rejection or because they are unsure of how to connect on a deeper level. When vulnerability is embraced, it creates an atmosphere where both partners can engage with each other on an emotional level without the fear of judgment or ridicule. Vulnerability encourages empathy and compassion as it allows both individuals to see each other's pain, joy, and struggle. This shared emotional experience creates a stronger, more resilient connection between partners as they learn to support each other through life's ups and downs. Furthermore, vulnerability enables personal growth. When we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, we open ourselves up to the possibility of change and transformation. Vulnerability requires courage because it often involves stepping outside our comfort zones and confronting fears and insecurities. Yet it is through this process of opening ourselves up and being vulnerable that we learn more about ourselves, gain insight into our emotional needs, and grow as individuals. In relationships, when both partners embrace vulnerability, they create an environment that fosters mutual growth, both individually and as a couple. As each person learns to be more open, honest, and authentic, the relationship becomes a space of shared development and transformation. One of the most powerful aspects of vulnerability is its ability to strengthen trust. Trust is the foundation of any successful relationship, and vulnerability is its cornerstone. When we are vulnerable with our partner, we are essentially saying, I trust you with the deepest parts of who I am. This act of trust invites the other person to do the same, creating a reciprocal relationship built on mutual respect and understanding. Vulnerability allows us to be emotionally raw, to show our partner our true selves, and to rely on their support and love. When both partners embrace vulnerability, the relationship becomes more secure and resilient, as they both know that they can rely on each other to be there in times of need without fear of being judged or rejected. Ultimately, embracing vulnerability is about letting go of the need for control and perfection and embracing the messiness of being human. It is about having the courage to open our hearts and allow ourselves to be seen as we are without fear of judgment or rejection. When we embrace vulnerability in our relationships, we invite deeper connection, trust, and intimacy. We create a space where both partners can grow, evolve, and thrive, knowing that they are loved and accepted for who they truly are. In embracing vulnerability, we discover not only the strength to be ourselves, but also the strength to build a lasting and meaningful relationships. In relationships, there is often an unspoken pressure to be perfect, to live up to an ideal that seems unreachable. Society places a significant emphasis on perfection, whether it's physical appearance, career success, or emotional stability. And this can seep into the way we view our relationships. We may expect our partner to be flawless, or we may strive to meet impossible standards ourselves. However, this obsession with perfection can be toxic, creating stress, disappointment, and unrealistic expectations. Instead of striving for perfection, focusing on growth offers a more sustainable, fulfilling path for both individuals and relationships. Growth, unlike perfection, is a continual process. It is the belief that we are always evolving, learning, and improving, even when we face setbacks or challenges. In relationships, growth is about becoming a better partner over time, being more understanding, more patient, more loving. It involves recognizing that we and our partner are human and that mistakes are part of the journey. And when we embrace growth, we shift our perspective from demanding flawlessness to accepting and nurturing the potential for change. Focusing on growth in relationships requires a mindset shift. Instead of measuring our worth or the value of our relationship based on how perfect it appears, we begin to see value in the effort, the progress, and the learning that happens along the way. It's about celebrating small wins, such as a deeper understanding of one another, better communication, or handling difficult conversations with more maturity. These moments of growth build a strong foundation where both partners feel encouraged to continue improving and evolving instead of feeling stifled by the pressure to be perfect. In relationships, focusing on growth allows both partners to be more forgiving, not just toward each other, but toward themselves. Everyone makes mistakes. No one is immune to emotional missteps, misunderstandings, or the occasional wrong choice. Perfectionism in relationships often leads to guilt and shame when these mistakes happen. But when the focus is on growth, those mistakes are seen as opportunities for learning and development, not as evidence of failure. When both partners have this mindset, it cultivates an environment of compassion and understanding. Instead of reacting with judgment or disappointment, they work together to understand what went wrong and how they can improve moving forward. Furthermore, growth-oriented relationships encourage self-awareness and emotional intelligence. When both individuals are focused on growing, they are more likely to reflect on their actions, thoughts, and feelings. They ask themselves how they can improve, both as individuals and within the context of the relationship. This self-reflection promotes personal development and helps each person become more attuned to their own needs and the needs of their partner. It strengthens communication, as partners are more likely to express their thoughts and feelings clearly, knowing that the other person is committed to listening and growing alongside them. An essential part of focusing on growth is creating a safe space for vulnerability. In a perfection-driven relationship, vulnerability can feel risky. There's often a fear that showing weakness or imperfection will lead to rejection or criticism. But when both partners are focused on growth, vulnerability becomes a tool for deeper connection. It's about being able to admit when something isn't working, when there's room for improvement, and when emotions are difficult to manage. This openness fosters emotional intimacy and allows the relationship to evolve in a way that both partners feel valued and understood. Vulnerability in a growth-oriented relationship isn't a sign of weakness. It is a sign of strength and commitment to building something better together. In addition, focusing on growth creates space for appreciation. In many relationships, the emphasis on perfection leads to a cycle of criticism and dissatisfaction. If one partner is constantly focused on what's wrong or what could be better, it can overshadow the good that already exists. When growth is the goal, both individuals become more attuned to the positives in the relationship, recognizing and celebrating the progress they've made together. It becomes about acknowledging the journey and appreciating the effort rather than fixating on the destination or the idea of perfection. Each step forward, no matter how small, is an achievement that strengthens the bond and encourages further growth. Focusing on growth also brings resilience in the face of challenges. Every relationship faces difficulties, whether it's external stress, miscommunication, or personal struggles. In a perfectionized relationship, challenges may be seen as signs of failure or incompatibility. But in a growth-oriented relationship, challenges are viewed as part of the process. They are opportunities to test the strength of the relationship and refine how both partners respond to adversity. And with a growth mindset, the belief is that any challenge can be overcome through effort, understanding, and continuous improvement. The resilience that comes from this approach makes the relationship stronger in the long run as both partners develop a deeper sense of teamwork and perseverance. Lastly, focusing on growth means that both partners have the freedom to change and evolve individually. Perfectionism often traps people in rigid roles, making them feel as though they must remain a certain way to be worthy of love or acceptance. But in a growth-oriented relationship, change is welcomed. It's understood that people evolve over time and that growth is not only possible, but necessary for a thriving relationship. This freedom allows both individuals to explore new interests, embrace new opportunities, and become the best versions of themselves, all while remaining deeply connected to one another. In the end, relationships grounded in growth are relationships that are adaptable, resilient, and deeply connected. They are relationships that prioritize effort, understanding, and improvement over unattainable ideals. By embracing growth rather than perfection, couples create an environment where both people can flourish, learning from their mistakes, celebrating their successes, and continuously striving to become better together.